Hello everyone and welcome to another review. Today we're going to go ahead and review a fragrance that was just released actually in March. This made it #1 on my last subscriber's choice or top choice. So this is going to be the first fragrance and the rest of them are going to follow afterwards. But the fragrance that we have today is none other than Versace Eros. Here's the bottle and here's the box. The box is pretty standard. Just says Versace Eros. It has this teal-like color on it. This is the 50 milliliter. You can get it for 50 in 50 milliliter, 100 milliliter. There might be another size in there, but it's your standard designer prices. So you can get this one for around $50, $60, and the 100 one for around 70 plus. I think it was 75. But yeah, standard prices. You can't really find it that much, or that you can't really find it anywhere really for a discount at this point, just because it's so brand new. But here's the bottle. It kind of has that Eros figure on the front of it. It has it on the cap as well. The cap pops off. Other than that, it's pretty standard. It has these kind of engraved markings all around on it. So the bottle's pretty interesting. I mean, nothing to write home about. I don't really, find it so great or anything like that. But as I mentioned, 2013. The parfumé of this was Aurélien Guichard, and I'm probably butchering that, but he has created a bunch of other fragrances, notably Unforgivable by Sean John, Silver Factory from Bond Number 9, Chinatown from Bond Number 9, La Mort Terrible, and what was that last one? One of the Angel flankers for it. So, and besides that, he's created actually a lot of other fragrances. Those are just some notables that you might have heard of. He's created a lot of female fragrances as well too. So on that side, he's responsible for a lot. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and get into the notes real quick. The notes: mint, lemon, green apple, tonka bean, ambroxan, geranium, vanilla, vetiver, oak moss, and cedar. Now, before I begin with what I actually think it smells like, ambroxan, for those of you who don't know, is sort of it's a synthetic compound that is made to kind of mimic the effects of, I believe it's ambergris, that is meant to mimic. So it kind of carries the fragrance. It serves as a base for the fragrance, and it has kind of a little bit of like a little bit of a rough quality to it that it adds to the base. I think they used it in Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue as well. So if you can kind of take a feel for that type of a base, that is the type of a base sort of that this is kind of giving off. Definitely not really a smooth base, but more of a rough base. In any case, what I get when I smell this, you can see from the notes that, mint, it's got some citrus in there with the green apple and the lemon, and as well it's got the vanilla and the tonka. What I get is actually primarily a citrus scent. At its very core, it's a citrus scent. The vanilla, the mint, and the apple really bring it up. You really get a lot of the apple on this, so it comes off as very citrusy, very vanilla-y, and very minty at the same time. It reminds me of 3 fragrances actually. If you've ever smelled these fragrances, and it reminds me of them at very different times specifically. So, for example, when people said that this reminds them of 1 Million, I completely agree with them. It has 1 Million's sort of DNA-ish. It's very loud, very aggressive, very coming at you in your face. It kind of has, and it has a feel to it. I haven't really been able to put my, finger on it, but it has a feel to it that's very similar to 1 Million. It's also similar to La Male, the dry down of La Male. It has that mint and that vanilla put together, kind of give it that La Male-ish feel. And finally, the sweetness kind of reminds me of Givenchy Play, basically. So it has these different aspects from the fragrance that I believe it creates its own kind of unique-ish type of a scent. Almost like a very spicy apple, or not very spicy, but a spicy apple-ish type of a vibe with citrus thrown in. There's so many ways to actually look at it, whether it be a vanilla with citrus type of a vibe, an apple with a vanilla type of a vibe. The tonka bean kind of runs up through it out, to kind of keep it nice and sweet. So there's many different ways to actually look at this fragrance. You can kind of approach it from different angles, but overall, vanilla, apple, mint, tonka, and forgetting a note here. vanilla, apple mint, tonka, and citrus-ish. I mean, it has woody undertones, as you can see from it, but I can't really pick out any of the specific woods. But overall, that's what I get from it. Overall, it's a very pleasant fragrance. I generally go about 2 sprays of this. 2 sprays is plenty enough. It will last you well over 10 hours. I go 1 to the head, usually 1 to the chest, but it will last you well over 10 hours. The projection is off the chain. People will smell you, 10 feet away. It lasts as far as sillage or leaving that trail behind you. It'll do that as well. It'll overpower other fragrances as well around you. That's why you want to be pretty careful with the trigger on this. You don't want to go crazy on it. If you go crazy on it, you're going to be one of those people who choke people out. In less flattering tones, I would put this Axe-ish in a fragrance bottle, basically. I'm not saying it's Axe. I don't want you to give that opinion because I actually do think it's a good fragrance, but it kind of has that vibe to it. All right. Best occasion, clubbing and night out. Those are the 2 best scenarios that I see this one in. I don't really see wearing this one casually, just because it makes a statement by itself. So not a casual fragrance, but definitely an excellent clubbing fragrance, definitely an excellent night out fragrance. Fall and winter, I think, is the best time for this one, but you can wear it in warmer months. I would say, in the evenings or when it's colder, and being careful on the trigger, and it might, do you just as well. This is not a hot weather scent, though. I would highly advise against wearing this in the hot. I've had to test it in the hot sometimes, and it just has something that doesn't really mix with it. I don't feel it comes to its own in hot weather. It can get a little bit cloying. And I would say, well, not set my Facebook on. All right, but either way, sorry, I'm missing one thing here the sillage, that's it. So while I was testing this, the sillage on this one, as I was walking by, actually, somebody could say they smelled me, and I was a good 30 feet away, so it kind of left a scent bubble-ish. And one time when I wore this to work, actually, I was in a small room, and it filled up the room, basically, with it. Good, fortunately, they liked the smell, but very powerful one indeed. When looking what other people thought of it, again, took the survey, about 100 people, 77 loved it. The most frequent comment was that it was a very pleasant sweetness to it. 19 disliked it. Of the 19 that disliked it, said it was too strong. That it was too powerful, cloying, basically. A little bit too aggressive, basically. And the 4 who were neutral basically kind of had oscillating feelings to it. So at the very least, it kind of inspires one response or the other response. Not really much in between for it. They either liked it or didn't like it, and most of them liked it. If I'm to give this a rating, I'm going to go ahead and give this one an 8 out of 10. There's a couple reasons that I would say 8 out of 10, but for the likes, the positives for it, it's a very pleasant fragrance. If you're looking for a clubbing fragrance, a night out fragrance, take a look at this fragrance. If you're looking for something that's sweet, but at the same time unique, that's the key here, unique, something that you really haven't smelled before, I would say go with this one. It will remind you of those 3 fragrances that I mentioned earlier at times, Le Male at times. It'll remind you of Givenchy Play at times, and it'll remind you of, man, my memory is going. Givenchy Play, Le Male, and 1 Million. Those 3 fragrances, it'll remind you at times. But, yes. And finally, it's a very strong fragrance. It's got strength, it's got character, it's very aggressive. If you want to stand out, if you want your fragrance to overpower others around you, you want to stand out in that way, go for this one. The negatives, not versatile at all. It's not very versatile. You can't really wear it out. Again, I can't really see wearing casually to other scenarios, just club and night out. That's all I can really think of this one for. And again, it can be cloying. It can be a little bit overpowering. And also, you're probably not going to get any discounts at this point of time or review for it, but you're always welcome to try for it, all right? So if you have any questions whatsoever on Versace Eros, please let me know. Leave a comment down below, send me a message, do whatever you got to do. Thank you, take care of yourselves, and have a great day.